Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, football is king, as we know here in Louisiana, and of course in the South as well. But I got to tell you, the Saints are going to start practice just 1 week from today in training camp. I cannot wait for that. But the LSU Tigers and the SEC, well, they're getting it started in about a week and a half when they start practice. But LSU was at the SEC Media Days yesterday, the kickoff event that kind of signifies the beginning of everything. You see the schedule right there. The Tigers right there with Brian Kelly and, of course, Lane Kiffin. They kicked it off with Missouri yesterday. Nick Saban and group went on today, but there's Brian Kelly. Lots of talk about the NIL and players getting paid, particularly with this guy right here, Lane Kiffin. You see that look on his face. He was exasperated while talking about it. He goes, what are we doing? We're just paying these guys to play, and now we're going to have to kowtow to boosters. A lot of talk about expansion and the transfer portal as well, but football is upon us, and I know we love it. Speaking of LSU, we had head coach Jay Johnson on last week, and of course we talked about players he might lose in the Major League Draft, which started on Sunday. It continues today on the third day. LSU lost some players. We knew that was going to happen. Third baseman Jacob Berry, what a superstar he has been. The 6th overall pick of the first round to the Miami Marlins. Congratulations to him. He came with Jay Johnson from Arizona. What a stud. K. Doughty, also, he went in the 2nd round to the Blue Jays, so he's going to be gone, as will Eric Razelman, a guy that throws 100 miles an hour. The Yankees picked him up. And, of course, recruits. LSU's recruited very well. They got Carl Crawford's son, the great outfielder for the Red Sox and Marlins. Well, Justin Crawford, there he is right there. He went with the 17th pick overall. He's going to the Phillies. And also, Mikey Romero, the 24th overall pick, going to the Red Sox. He was going to be a shortstop for LSU, but he's going on to the pros, as is Robbie Snellings. We talked about him last week. He went to the Padres. And we got a couple other players. Jacob Mizorowski, 63rd pick overall. He's going to the Brewers. And infielder Tucker Toman is going to the Blue Jays. He got picked really one pick right ahead of K. Doughty, and they're both going to the Blue Jays. But also good news, though, because Chase Shores is a player that LSU really needed to keep. He's a big-time pitcher. He's 6'6". He decided to take his name out of the draft. He's coming back to LSU. And Paul Gervais, also another pitcher at LSU last year, 4-1 record. He had a 1.85 ERA in 29 appearances, so he's back as well. Speaking of baseball, the Home Run Derby. Let's talk about the All-Star game first. That is tonight. Major League All-Star game. Clayton Kershaw, the great pitcher for the Dodgers, is pitching in his home park in L.A. against Tampa Bay's Shane McClanahan, who was 10-3 with a 1.71 ERA. But last night, you had the Home Run Derby. Albert Pujols was a guy that has been around. He's the 4th leading home run hitter of all time, behind only Bonds, Ruth, and, of course, Aaron. And he is 4th, but he was in there. He even got to the 2nd round. He beat Kyle Schwarber and then he got eliminated by a guy named Julio Rodriguez, 21 years old. This guy went forward and ended up getting to the final. He had 63 home runs in his first 2 rounds, but he ended up losing to the second youngest champion ever, Juan Soto. By the way, the British Open, the Open Championship's what it's called, but us Americans call it the British Open. Poor Rory McIlroy, he led nearly the entire way, but Cameron Smith, the mullet man from Australia, had 2 64s. First time that's ever been done in a major to finish it off and win this thing. Hey, we have a great show for you today. We have, I can't wait, Leo Nocentelli, the great guitar legend from the Meters. We also have Mike Hoss, the voice of the Saints, and then the greatest tennis player in the last half century, Welsh Hotard. Coming in next, right here. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and like I said in the open, we have a great show for you, a diverse show as well, but we're going to lead it off with a guy that's been in New Orleans since the late 80s. He's from the D.C. area. He went to George Mason, and his name is Mike Hoss. He used to work at WWL, and now he's the voice of the New Orleans Saints. To me, that's one of the biggest jobs you can have in this city, and I got to work with him in his first year last year. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it, man.
First time on the show.
It is first time. I've seen the show in the studio with you.
That's
shooting
right.
video of you for
Afterward,
a story,
right?
Doing for De La Salle, where you went to high school.
I was thinking about you when I said that. I said, how could I have not had him? And then I realized you pretty much retired from WWL when I started the show back,
right.
And then now you voice the Saints.
Yeah,
right?
we went through COVID. We've had a few different things happen, but yeah, it's been. I work at the Superdome as the spokesperson for the renovation that's happening, so I'm working there. I still have a video production company, Hoss Communications, and the radio job. So it's a busy time, but it's about to get really busy, which is cool.
Busy. I know your schedule coming up. Hey, real quick, in the fall, I know you're crazy busy, but I've always wondered this. When I got out of college, it was about the time you got here, and I moved to D.C., so our paths never really crossed until like 5 or 6 years ago. So tell me how you got to New Orleans in the beginning. I mean, how'd that happen?
Well, first off, I went to James Madison University.
That's it.
Not George Mason.
Well, I lived in D.C., so George Mason was right down the street. James Madison.
I would have, I kind of ran back at you.
We could have started over. We're live. Almost live.
All good. So, I went to college, James Madison, in Harrisonburg, Virginia, on a golf scholarship.
Right.
That was the plan. Played professional golf.
Was Lefty coaching there then?
No, Lefty was not. Lefty was in Maryland. And so
no, but he left around that time because he got Fess Irvin. Because Fess Irvin played for him, right?
Right, but you know how old I am, bro?
I hear you. But it was around that time, brother.
So I went to college on a golf scholarship. I was going to play professional golf, and I got through my junior year and went, I am going to be one poor professional golfer. And so
you were that good to even think about it, though?
At the time.
Wow. All right.
You know, who knows?
So you could be last these days and not be poor, though.
Right, that's true. I mean, but it's hard. The 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
It's hard.
You'll be talking to Welsh Hotard later. I mean, it's that 1%.
It's tough, I know.
The guys who make it. So I said, ooh. So I had been doing some communication stuff, and a friend of mine took me down to the radio station one night, and we broke about 12 FCC rules, and just kind of caught the bug, and spent my whole senior year and summers just trying to get experience, and started in Charlottesville, Virginia, at an AM radio station, and then went back to Harrisonburg and television. And Harrisonburg was market 203.
Right.
At the time, there were only 206. I was making my first salary, my first year, I was making $10.9. $10.9 before taxes.
$10.90 might have been more than that per hour.
Right, so $10,900, and so but it was I was in television, you know, and then I went to Lawton, Oklahoma. Spent 367 days there.
Yeah,
loved the people, but tough little market. And then I went to Lubbock, Texas, and covered the Red Raiders for a couple of years, which was awesome. Loved it, enjoyed Lubbock, and then the whole plan was to get back to DC.
Sure.
Pay your dues, get back to DC. And early 1989, sent a tape to New Orleans, never been here before, did St. Charles Avenue and St. Charles Parish, the same thing to me.
That's funny.
And happened to, was lucky, Joe Duke hired me and thought I would be here 2 years, and that was 35 years ago.
Literally.
Met my wife here. Oh my Lord.
That's old Mike Hoss. That's the Hoss when I come back to town. I remember that dude.
Met my wife here, we have two daughters, and this became home probably in the early 90s. Like I would just be, you know, I think there's two kinds of people. Either you get New Orleans or you don't.
There's definitely
and
those
if you
two
don't,
kinds, right.
don't worry about it.
Right.
It's cool, but you never ever will.
Right.
Right. So don't. But if you do,
if you listen to the meters one time, you get
right,
New Orleans.
you get it.
That's
and
it.
So, and I got it, and it just kind of got in my blood, and I could think of living no place else, and it was just here. And so that's been 30 plus years.
That's crazy. I know you never thought you'd be here that long, but you know, you worked with Jim Henderson from the get-go with WWL, and now, good thing you didn't have to replace him, because you followed Zach Streif, who I worked with for 3 years, and I know I kept fielding people saying, oh, he's not as good as Jim Henderson. I said, who is as good as Jim Henderson? Who will ever be as good as Jim Henderson? Because we're used to him. That's what you're used to for 35 years. I thought Zach did a remarkable job, and you had your first year following him after his 3-year run. And when you got the word, because I know you were up for the job 4 years ago, and I know you didn't get it, and I know you've been working in the Dome, doing the games, and I'd see you down there all the time. Talk about the disappointment not getting it that time, and then all of a sudden, 3 years later, you're the man.
You know, I don't know if it was, I mean, I was disappointed. I mean, we were all in this kind of big race towards the end, and Zach kind of got into the race late, but as soon as he did, I was like, I told Diane Newman at the station, I go, well, that's who you hire. He's the right hire.
I need to be your agent then if you said that.
You know, I mean, I was disappointed, but I thought it was, you know, I said, here's what I would have done if I'd been Diane Newman. I'd have hired Zach Streif. Zach and Deuce together, you know, and so Zach has been, and so has Jim. Zach has been phenomenal for me, with me. I thought he called me last night. He's just a unbelievable person. He and Jim could not be further apart in how they approach the game.
No, I know.
From a research standpoint and studying and how they do the game, but both of them in their own way, unequivocally instrumental in where I am today.
So your first year, take me through it a little bit. What were your ups and downs? What were the things that hit you?
It was rough. I mean,
that's us right there.
I mean, I mean, it was far more difficult than I anticipated. I mean, the first game is on the road. It's in Baltimore. There's 180 players, right?
Yeah.
And so we preseason.
Yeah.
We have a hurricane, so we're out of. We lose a preseason game.
Arizona.
You know, and so it was just. I felt like for me, I was swimming uphill the whole year. There were some good moments. Deuce is the easiest human to work with. I had great people around me. Yourself, Jordan. You know, but it was. I didn't know how to prepare the way I really needed to prepare.
Right.
That I do now. And every week I would change. And so by the time I finally got towards the end of the year, my pattern was where I wanted it to be. And then when February hit, season's over, I know the schedule. In my offices at home and work, I've got these huge boards with the entire roster. I'm like, at this time last year, I was going, when's training camp? Again, we had no OTAs.
I remember.
I didn't get the job till July 6th. We had no OTAs, no mini camp. So I was just waiting on training camp.
I remember the day you got the job. I was at WWL and they walked you through. They were like, Mike Haas is coming today. I'm like, what's he doing?
I did not know how far behind I was. I had a great time. I had a blast. Thanks to Robert Carroll and Deuce and everybody. But
preseason is so hard.
Just not talking about the whole season. There were some ups and downs, and I'm really looking forward to this year for many reasons.
Well, like you said, you have 180 players. I mean, I do college games, and we have that every week, 200 guys. I mean, you know, you're getting ready for 150 of them sometimes. But that's the hard thing. Once the season starts, it's hard because you've never done it, but you know your Saints team. You know, you only have 45, 50 guys to remember.
Was there anything crazier than last year's Saints team? I mean, good gosh.
And the most injuries of all time. Let's segue to that too, because let's look at that, because everybody wants to hear about the Saints. Practice starts next Wednesday, the 27th, and I know there's some reporting going on the 26th, but as now the voice of the Saints, as a guy that you're going to be, you know, you travel around with them, you get to know them. What's your take on last season? I think it's miraculous. I just thought about this when I saw Lutz on the field yesterday. He's been on the show a couple times. Even with just that one player, they're 11-6. Oh, easily. I mean, easily, maybe 12-5.
4 quarterbacks. The only NFL team to start 4 different quarterbacks. 4 kickers. You know, if you think.
Well, the most players you've started in NFL history have started an NFL game last season for the Saints. Right. That says it all.
So, but last June, we were all excited, right? And then all of a sudden, the Michael Thomas thing hit. And then David Onyemata was right about this time. It was the 6-game suspension. And then we did P-Rob retires. Ryan Glasgow retires. And the players they lost kind of in free agency, and those they had to kind of let go: Emmanuel Sanders, Janoris Jenkins. They lose Big Wiggle.
And you don't let go.
You don't think it's a big deal until all of a sudden they lose Thomas and every wide receiver.
That's the thing. Once you saw Thomas gone, you would not have let Emmanuel Sanders, but we didn't know that Thomas was hurt or he didn't have a surgery.
And
it's
so
just a snowball effect.
I think that 9-8 season was
miraculous.
Unbelievable.
Miraculous.
For what they went through, hurricane, on the road, and I've said this, I said this publicly, if the Niners do their job,
17-0 with 30 seconds left in the first half.
The end of the season would have been different last year.
No question.
I really.
And also the other thing is, like, there were some games when around Thanksgiving we went in knowing we're going to lose because they had no players.
Those
like
Thursday night games,
the whole
Miami game,
Buffalo. It was brutal. I mean Dallas. I mean those 3 in a row. It's like you start to get some momentum back. When Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Alvin Kamara were on the field, that team was still winning.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you had the 30, 20-something players with COVID. And then that's why I keep telling people 9-8 was remarkable. And then the kicker, like I said, the kicker would have won you 3 more games himself.
And then Sean Payton calls Drew Brees. Right. What kind of season was that? That the head coach
calls the guy that's already in TV.
15 calls the guy to play.
That's crazy.
That's what kind of season
That's
it was.
kind of nuts. Speaking of Sean, what's the effect now? Sean's gone. We've had him since 2006. Obviously, there's some kind of effect, but Dennis Allen has been around, and he's been in the system 2 different times. What's the effect going to be on this team as a whole, and then on the offense?
I don't think there's going to be much. I think it's going to be hard, and we talked about this yesterday with some friends, and it's hard to put your stamp on this.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's very different than Sean. Sean was very controlling. Dennis Allen. And so it's different. You can hardly find Dennis on the practice field when you're watching OTAs minute. You're like, he just kind of meanders. And I think this is such a good roster. And it's the same system with Pete Carmichael. I don't think you're going to see, that's the Dennis Allen stamp.
Right.
I don't know that you're going to see that.
Well, the thing about Dennis is when he first came back from the Raiders, right? I was at every practice, so I got to talk to him a lot, and he was so accessible every time to everybody, which blew me away. Because some coaches can give you a day and then you're in and out, but he just relates so well, and he related to us, which if he's relating to us that well, he's relating to his players, and the players were all backing him. You heard all this stuff, and comments were thrown out when he got hired. They just hired this guy immediately. They knew we were going to get, but they knew what they had, right?
Right.
Look
what he's done with that defense since he arrived in 2015.
Crazy.
Right?
They were the worst. They were the worst in the league in history.
And so now they're top 10, top 5.
Right.
And with the players they have, there's a few spots that you look at inside, interior defensive line, maybe linebacker. But last year we were trying to figure out who might play, who would be the roster. Now, you go too deep on this team, you go, no, that position's done.
No, exactly, right?
There's not going to be this. It'll be tough to be this surprise undrafted free agent who there'll be one maybe, but there won't be 5. Right.
Remember the year before last year, the 4 years before, they had the best record regular season NFL, even ahead of the Chiefs, and you knew the rosters. I mean, you had a couple dudes pop up in training camp, but you knew because they were so deep. Last year it was so opposite.
Oh my gosh.
We were looking for starters at the end of training camp.
We're like, who's this guy, Aesop Winston? Who's this?
He might start at wide receiver.
We had no idea.
And this year I looked at it again, like you just said, and I'm like, oh my God, they're too deep in a lot of positions again.
Very strong.
There's a little bit of linebacker. Can the second-year guy, Pete Werner, pop in and do the job? Or Quan Alexander's still out there apparently.
But I think, who am I? I don't know anything. But if you're going to keep a position less, DeMario Davis, man, he just owns that. What a stud!
And they only play 2 linebackers.
They only play
anyway.
2, so maybe instead of keeping 6, maybe you keep 5.
Right.
I don't see. I got to figure out which wide receiver you're cutting.
Right.
Because that wide receiver room went from one of the worst in the NFL to one of the best.
Well, it was the worst in the NFL. I live next to Marcus Quez-Callaway. He knows he's not a 1 or a 2 receiver. He even says that. He was the number 1 guy.
He was anointed. We just went, hey, Marcus, you're number 1. And by the way,
he's number 5 this year, maybe.
Get your jersey number 1 because you're the guy. And it's when you become the guy. And they didn't even have any tight ends that did much. So it was again. I look back at last year, and I was looking at the Carolina game, the one that Carolina at Saints, towards the end of the year. And I'm looking at the roster, they had 2 tight ends. Taysom starting, and I was like,
Adam Troutman was hurt.
Troutman.
Yeah,
I was just like,
right.
it was. I was just like, wow, man, it was crazy.
Speaking of that position, Taysom Hill. That's an interesting thing because I want to talk about Winston and Hill, obviously different positions now, but how are they going to use him this year, Taysom Hill?
Gosh, I think all over. I can't see him. I mean, certainly a tight end. They want
He's
to
too
try
light
him
to be a regular
there.
tight end, though,
and I think
right?
he's too light. And I also think that the guys, he's had concussions, he's had injuries. I just think, but I think that's why when you look at the roster, they don't put TE next to his name. I think you're going to still see him at quarterback.
Slash?
I think you're going to see him a little bit of everything. I think he can throw the ball. You know, maybe he enables you to keep 3 tight ends and Taysom, right? Because
Right.
I don't know where you need more. You need more spots than 53. But I'm interested. He's such a great athlete, and he can do so many things for you on 3rd and short. The question is, can this team get to 3rd and short?
I had a couple of Saints people on, I guess 2 months ago, my 3rd show back, and I was talking about the Saints roster, and I'm not talking about a specific position, but like defensive line as opposed to end. And I said besides quarterback, you could say, you can make an argument that each unit is at least in the top 3rd, at worst in the info. I mean, you put the offensive line as a whole, the receivers now, come on.
Yeah.
And then, but quarterback is where I don't think we're that bad off. I like Jameis Winston. I'm going to tell you why. He was the guy that I used to do games with Brando. After college went in, we do some NFL games. We always had the worst one. Before Tampa was good, they were the worst one. So we got them a lot. So I got to interview him a good bit before the games, 2 days before they talked to us. And I watched his maturity grow from the first few years to that last year he was at Tampa, and I saw, he threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, he was drill 5,000 yards. But I saw maturity in this guy, and I saw a growth thing that most people might not see because they don't see him every year, they don't get to talk to him. And then when he came here and took the million, right, to be under Breeze, he might have made like 8, 9, go somewhere else just to prove himself again. But he took that million and said, I want to learn under the best. And he did. And then, he had Breeze and obviously Peyton for a year. Then he had Peyton for another year, right? Yep. Before he got hurt, the guy was 5-2, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Let me do some math. That's 33-7 if you prorate it, right? That's a pretty darn good season. What's your take on him?
Exactly. I mean, to me, we'll never be able to appreciate the 2020 season. Him, because he got to put Tampa in the rear view, and he spent a year in the quarterback room with Drew Brees. And so, I'm like you. He became the most impressive leader, vocalistic, and he was smart with the ball last year. I thought Sean was just getting to kind of unleash more of the
I
offense.
get you 100%,
and
man.
I think I think he's going to do if he's just just do the system. It's a system. He knows the system now. It's still Pete's system, right? And Sean's system. I think if he's got targets now that he's never had before.
That's the thing. He's got targets, man.
Kamara we don't know about, but you get a running game in there because you got to have a running game. You got to have a running game.
Speaking of one of those targets, that's where I want to go next because I, as a New Orleans native that left for a long time and back, I am so excited that two guys are coming back. One's a St. Aug grad, one's a Letcher grad. We know Tyrann Mathieu. They call him the Honey Badger, obviously from LSU days. And also, I love Jarvis Landry. I love both these guys on and off the field so much. What do they bring to this? I got chills just now saying it. I swear to God. What do they bring to this franchise?
Well, you see Jarvis in practice and the impact he's already making with these young guys. Right. Now, when he stands next to Chris Olave, he looks like a linebacker. Like they're built so differently, but you can see his leadership. You can see the catches that he makes. And it's the same thing with Matthew to me. He has an instinct for the ball that you just can't teach. This is his 10th year, right? So he's going to make that. He makes that secondary better automatically.
Right.
But his nose for the football is going to make this secondary so much better. Just because they're going to, when a quarterback goes to the line, they're going to say, "Where's 32? Where's 32?"
Dude, his days at LSU, he was the most havoc-wreaking player I've ever seen on a defense. Like other than big Lawrence Taylor type.
Right.
Hey, going through right quick. When you talk about this team now coming through, what do you think is the ceiling for them, or is there one?
I don't know if there's a ceiling. I mean, I think this team will have to continue what Sean Payton did, which is be a good team on the road, and they got to be a better team at home. I'm not a huge fan of the schedule. It's a pretty tough schedule,
right?
And they got to get off to a good start because those first 10 games, there's going to be a pretty rough stretch. But, you know, of course, we end the season, as always, you know, in Carolina. But that's San Francisco, Cincy, Eagles, Rams. You got to get off to a good start. But if you do, the team gets some momentum and some confidence. The sky's the limit. I think they're the top, in my mind, of the NFC South.
Last thing I want to bring up is like the draft, because Doug Marrone, who was the offensive coordinator back when Peyton was here.
He's a trip.
He's the best dude ever. I knew him back in the 90s when he was with the Georgia Tech. He was working with them, and then Georgia. So I saw him a lot and knew him, hung out a little bit. Now he's back. He lives in my building. So we talked. We go out a good bit. So we talked right before the draft, and he's like, we need two things. We need a wide receiver that can split the distance and you know, make people scared,
right.
You know, and we also need, obviously, a tackle. That's his position. He's like, I'm hoping those are what we get. Well, we got Penning, who I thought was one of the best tackles in the draft and might end up being the best. And then you moved up to get Olave, because you got two guys that, granted, they're phenomenal receivers, in Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, but they don't have breakaway speed. He got his wish. Now, what do you think about how these guys can contribute?
I think big time. I think Olave can automatically, just because of who's going to be. Think of Olave in the slot, and you got Jarvis on the outside and Thomas on the outside, or flip-flop it. Olave's on the outside. You finally got that burner that you have, because right, Thomas is in it. But here's what I want out of Mike Thomas. I want him to be angry. I want him to be pissed when he comes back this year. I want him to come back and prove people that he can be the same guy he was in 2019. I think he can. But that wide receiver room in and of itself, if they can stay healthy, it's going to be fun to watch. And Olave, man, he just impresses me so much.
Dude, you impressed me so much too. And I know there might have been a day that you might have been a double XL, because I was at one time too. And I kind of
looking at me on this camera, I feel like a triple.
But I got you an XL. This is a Task Performance.
I love Task, man.
This is our tradition. So you've had it before?
Oh, I love Task. I wear Task all the time. Beautiful bamboo.
If you come next week, I could have had you a gift certificate for a restaurant, but I'll get it to you anyway. Hey, this is a ball. This one's got Archie Manning. This has got Alvin Gentry. This has got
Horseman. Hey, Horseman.
This got Horseman. Is that what he calls?
Archie calls him Horseman.
So yeah, get you something in there. Mike Hoss, the voice of the Saints. If you want to even throw that, I don't know if there's room for all that, but hey, that's Mike Hoss. Check him out, WWL. You'll hear him all year long, starting with preseason games. They got 4 of those and 17, or 3 of those now. 17 regular season games coming up. Hey, we got a real treat for you. I got Welsh Hotard coming up next. He's one of the greatest players to ever come out of the state of Louisiana in the sport of tennis. But next, the legend himself. You know the meters. You know Hey Pocky Way, Sissy Strut. They used to play Iko all the time. They played everything. But he has a great little project on his own right now. His name is Leo Nocentelli. He has been around for a long, long time. One of the true legends of the Crescent City. Coming up next, right here on Primetime Sports.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my, oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At the mid-city lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Hey, don't forget my pimento cheese. Of course.
It's okay, I'll take it from here. Hey, the guy get a seat!
For the love of Palmetto Cheese.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. And when I don't have an athlete on the show, and I'm not saying my next guest's not an athlete, but I've never seen him play sports, I always say this. This is a sports and entertainment show. I've had tons of musicians, some of the greatest in New Orleans. I'm not sure I've had a better guitarist than the guy right sitting next to me. He is an original meter from back 50 plus years ago. It might even be 54 if my math goes right. His name is Leo Nocentelli. I got to know him several months ago at his 50th anniversary. We had dinner, and I've stayed in touch ever since, and I couldn't wait for the opportunity to ask him to come on the show. And here he is. What is going on, my man?
Good to
see you, Leo.
Good to see you again.
First time on the show. How you doing?
You know, I tell everybody, I have a phrase I always use. I'm still on the right side of the dirt.
The right side of the dirt. not 6 feet under that dirt.
No, you'll be looking up at the roots.
You still look good, man. You're still lucid. You're still doing your thing.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed, man. I feel pretty good at my age, and I'm just a blessed person. I'm very, very happy and about especially with this new thing that's going on now. It's phenomenal. It's incredible.
Yeah, you new gig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into that now. Right here, this album right here. If you can't see, this is. I'm gonna let you tell the story, but I'm gonna set up a little bit.
Sure.
This thing was lost for half a century. For 50 years, this was gone, and it was found in a warehouse, like a storage unit in Los Angeles. And I know you spent some time out there, but these are the lost records, so I'm going to let you take it from here.
Well, I'm going to start from the beginning. The Meters, we had like 3 albums out, and we were a hit group.
Right.
However, the record company we was on, Josie Records, and went defunct. So we wound up having 3 albums out there with no label to continue.
Sure, sure.
So during that time, I got stagnated and well, not stagnated, but I started thinking about doing some other things.
Yeah.
And I picked up an album by a couple of albums by James Taylor, Mudslide Slim, and what's the other one? Sweet Baby James.
Yeah, Sweet Baby James. He's one of my all-time favorites.
I started listening to the chord progressions and where he was going with this, and the lyrics. Because when I wrote the songs, a lot of songs for the Meters, they were like chants, like people say, and stuff like that.
Yes.
And hey, Pocky Way, and I'm saying this guy is actually telling stories.
Yes.
You know, and with great musical background.
Sweet Baby James is a good example.
Oh, man,
about his nephew being born, and he goes down and you know.
So I wrote about 10 songs like that, acoustic, and bought me an acoustic guitar, so I started writing acoustic songs like I was hearing on a record. And I
love these pictures, man.
Yeah.
All right.
I went in the studio and hired some guys. Matter of fact, a guy by the name of James Black, which is an unbelievable drummer, man. He's dead now, but he was a very astute player. I used Zig and I used George on a few of them.
Yeah.
But they were completely contrary to what I normally do, the funk thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I finished, not even finished. I got to a point where it was about 10 of them done, and they were really embryonic. They were like, not embryonic, but a little more than that. They were unfinished.
Right.
And so to the point where I would ask Cosmo Matassa, which has one of the biggest studios here in New Orleans. I asked Cos, I said, look, Cos, make me a copy of this, and I'm gonna take it home and go listen at it. And that was the last time I heard of those tapes.
Wow. What year would that have been?
71.
Okay.
1971.
That's crazy.
And so decades passed, not decades, but right then, I would say about a year after that, I kind of left it alone.
Yeah.
So the Meters got a record deal with Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And we did 5 albums, consecutive albums with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
The first one was the Cabbage Alley album. So I just completely forgot about that project.
Right.
And I started writing songs for the Meters again. And that project just stood there and stored. I had it stored at Sea Saint, which is Alan Toussaint's studio on Clematis Street. And that, it just decades passed. Not even thinking about the record idea, I just forgot about it. I was doing the Meters thing. So Katrina happened, and since then I'd moved to Los Angeles. And I was in Los Angeles for almost 35 years until I moved back here about 5 years ago.
Right.
And Katrina happened and just completely destroyed the studio, like 10 feet of water in it.
Right.
So quite naturally, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not thinking about all the stuff is gone, they're all ruined. So come to find out, the people bought the studio. They found these tapes on the sidewalk. Tapes about which were the Meters, 10 or 12 tapes of the Meters, Lee Dorsey, a whole bunch of other
sidewalk being sold, you mean, like at a flea market type thing?
Yeah, just trying to clean the place out, so to speak.
I see.
So the guy said, look, these tapes could be valuable. We're going to send them to LA. Maybe the Grammy people would be interested in maybe having these tapes.
Okay.
So they sent it to Los Angeles and put it in the storage compartment.
Oh, that's how it happened.
That's how it happened. So about when they did that, about 40 some years, they stood in the storage place, just there.
That's
so
nuts.
yeah, man. So So what happened was they lost the storage compartment. It went. They couldn't pay for it. And of course,
I've seen the show Storage Wars. Then they have to sell.
Yeah. So they sold it to this flea market.
Yeah.
That frequently puts on flea markets, swap meets.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles. So the CD then went the tape. Actually, it was a 1/4-inch tape. It went from New Orleans all the way to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
How it got there, the truck, plane, I don't know.
Right.
But it wound up in the storage place. So when they lost the storage space, the flea market went and bought the storage place. And when you buy storage spaces like that, you buy the contents and everything in there.
Inside.
Everything, tapes and everything.
Yep.
So I would say into like maybe the 50th year of it not being heard of or anything, this guy by the name of Mike Nikita frequents this flea market. So he saw these tapes sprout all on a table full of tapes,
This is
and
crazy.
he said Lee Dorsey, meet it. So he's familiar with that. He was one of the he was with the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
And
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, so he knew me. So he knew me, and he knew the meter. So he said, I'm gonna buy this. So he bought all the meter tapes. He bought all of the Lee Dorsey tapes, and my little lonely 7.5 1/4-inch tape. So, and when he saw it, I mean, there wasn't nothing he could do with it from monetarily because he couldn't own them. He couldn't put them out without the people's permission. So he called me. I don't even know what he did with the meters stuff.
Yeah.
Whether he contacted them. I think C-Saint has them. Well, Alan, his son has them. I think now. But he said, Leo. He said, I owned the 1/4-inch tape. So he said, Leo. He said, I have a tape here, man. He said, I said, yeah, good. He said, I want to send it to you. And when he started mentioning the titles of the songs, I said, what?
You had a flashback, Bob.
Flipped me out, man. I haven't heard those titles in over 50 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so he sent it to me.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. I said, "Wow, I haven't seen this in 50 years." So, but little did I know that he had played the tapes to
back then. Wow.
Yeah, cigarette in my mouth.
I know. I see it. Nice hair.
At the jazz.
You're looking good, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, he played it for this record label called Light in the Attic, and they flipped out over it. And they called me up, and quite simply.
When was this exactly? Was this last fall?
Yeah, I would say about a year and a half ago.
Oh, a year and a half. Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little longer. I don't know.
Right.
So I said, so we made a deal for the tape. Remember that I didn't think too much of the tape because it was really unfinished stuff.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
But it was evidently was enough there audible enough for them to understand that they might have something. So they gave me some money, made a deal with them, and it came out last year. Well, this year, November the 19th, and right now they can't keep the records in the record
Yeah, where
stores.
can people buy these now? Like, is it everywhere around town?
Well, the distributorship, the distribution company is cool, but the processing plant is the problem.
Right.
If you're not Adele, if you don't ship
If you're not huge,
500,000 copies, then you got to wait.
You gotta wait.
So that's been the problem where the people can't get a hold of them, too much of them in the record stores until they press them again. But they've been pre-ordering and stuff like that, and they're waiting for it.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say something because I saw you twice at Jazz Fest. You know, you played with band, and then you also had this project going on. 2 different shows, right? So you played at Jazz Fest, and then you went to Winnipeg, to Ontario, and you played in their festival. Are you going to be continuing to play? Because you just played that last week.
Yeah.
Are you on tour now? Are you going to be going back on tour?
Well, the demand for me to come out has been getting a lot of airplay. Man, it's over. I would say over a million hits. Spotify.
That's amazing.
On all the radio stations.
You're getting a
man.
lot of publicity.
Yeah.
And I
so
love
whether they could buy it or not, they want to see me out there. They want to see this guy do this, So.
You still got it?
Huh?
You still got it?
Yeah, I think I do. So I told him I would do the tour. It's about 4 or 5 days I'm doing on the East Coast, starting September the 24th.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
21st, actually. New York, Philly, Connecticut, and D.C. And there's other things after that, man, that's happening. It's the situation I'm in now where I'm pinching myself.
Yeah. Are you happy with this?
Yeah.
Because I know you like your time to chill, right?
Yeah.
But now you're going to be getting a little bit more busy.
Well, I'm able to mix it up. I can't go on a stage and do those It's all acoustics. You know, I'm a piece of people used to me rocking out, you know, and heavy funk, rock stuff. So I'm having to mix them up, you know, put some funk that people know me as for, you know, a song I wrote for the Meters.
That's what I want to say, because funk, people probably not know this, but you're pretty much the originator of funk. Am I right?
Well, that's what they say.
You are. I mean, I've done my research too, and I've read that. Obviously, people know George, psychedelic, Pullman psychedelic. Obviously, they know him, but you're the one that got him the ideas. But here's the drill. I got a picture right here with you and Paul McCartney. And I was blown away when I saw this, because obviously he's one of the great Beatles.
Yeah.
And look how good you look right there. Look at those high cheekbones. You're looking sharp, and all those girls in the background.
That's his wife, Linda McCartney.
Yeah, Linda's in the top, right? Yeah, I know
Kate
Linda.
Bush,
yeah.
one of the guys with Thin Lizzy.
Right.
And Paul's reaching me a joint.
What is this scene about? Where was this?
Paul's reading me a joint right there.
He's rolling? Oh, man, they did that back then? All right.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. Back then, right. Hey, so let's talk about the early Meters, because I don't want to run out of time here. George Porter, obviously Art Neville. Talk about the rest of them. This is a legendary band, and I remember getting to see them about 5 years ago at the Orpheum. You know, I'm not positive if you were even running around with them, but talk about the origins of this band and how you guys got started.
Well, I was the first one that Art contact. I was playing with Art when he had a band called the Hawkettes.
Yeah, the Hawkettes.
Yeah,
right,
and then we started playing at the Ivanhoe. I mean, not at the Nightcap R&B Club. Then we went to the Ivanhoe on Bourbon Street.
Right.
And we played every night there. But we wasn't still called the Meters. We wasn't called the Meters then. We were Art Neville and the Neville Sounds.
Okay.
Yeah, and then producer came in, Alan Toussaint, said, hey man, we want to record you guys. So there was a song that I wrote, a melody that I showed everybody. We opened up our set with.
Right.
And we said, well, let's go to the studio and record this song. And it was Sissy Strut.
Sissy Strut, yes.
Yeah, and that song came out, man, on the Josie label and sold like about 250,000 copies in 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know? And I think it was the first time that a bass player and a guitarist.
That's such a cool album cover.
Yeah, played the same melody. That had never happened.
You and
before.
George.
Yeah, me and George.
Right.
And it happened a lot in the jazz, but not funk and R&B. You know.
Right.
So I think that was the most significant thing about that particular song. Why I did it.
Hey Pac, You Ways become a New Orleans anthem, basically, right? I mean, and you're credited with writing it, maybe with somebody else, but the fact is, that to me is the song. When I was living away for 29 years, I hear that, I'm thinking New Orleans all day long. Talk about that song real quick.
Well, actually, the lyrics came from Art.
Right.
You know, I always was the guy that came up with the music. I had the most musical, scholastically, musically educated guy. I was writing songs long before the Meters.
Right.
And the track was there, and I did the track, and Art came up with those words because he's like, you know, he's a New Orleans guy from way back. So Art kind of came up with those lyrics.
You know, I just thought of something. Art, I went to his funeral. He died 3 years ago, coming up. Today's the 19th.
Yeah.
He died on the 22nd of July of 2019. What did he mean to you as a person and as a colleague that you played with?
Oh, I love him. I miss him.
There he is right there.
I learned a lot from him about the business, and because he was there long before I was there, Shaduki-Doo, and all the stuff that he recorded with another label before I even met him. So he was like a father, man, to me. He was just a good friend.
And George Porter's had a lot of success. I mean, he's a guy that's been on the circuit and, just seems to keep getting energized and keeps playing.
Yeah, well, George is a guy that likes to play.
He loves
the stage, and my hat's off to him. I'm a stage guy, but, I'm kind of like, I'm into the other side of it, too. I like to write songs. I like to get my song covered, sort of live out the mailbox like I'm living now. Don't go out too much.
Right, right.
George is a very, very, very talented player, man. And even though let's just make this point, even though I wrote those songs, those songs could have never manifested itself musically unless it was George, Zig, and Art playing them.
I mean, that's the group, man.
But yeah, well,
right.
those songs couldn't have happened with Tom, Dick, or Harry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had to happen with those three songs. So even though I wrote the songs, I credit those guys for making those songs what they became.
Unbelievable group. Hey, before I go, I want to ask you something. I got something, a sock here that you gave me on your 50th anniversary with your beautiful white Pasuki. This thing right here, I got two. One says Leo on one side. I guess if that turn around. Leo, like in the street, New Orleans street, in the corners that they put that. And the other one says Pasuki. I got cups. I got you gave me this CD, but also I'm going to give you something here. But as I'm doing this, I want to ask you, I saw that picture of McCartney, and I remember coming down 30-something years ago, and my friend Trevor, his dad owned music places and stuff, and he says, hey, Jimmy is playing, Art's going to be there, Leo is going to be there, and it was a private show during Jazz Fest, and, at the Cafe Brazil, and I had friends from out of town, they were like, Jimmy who? And it was like Jimmy Buffett, just hanging out at a private little thing for 100 people. You've met so many cool people. Who are some of the memories you got?
Well, I toured with all those. I toured with Jimmy Buffett. I did a couple of songs on the Venus and Mars album, and I got to know Paul very, very well. I toured with Robert Palmer. I think the most
Robert Palmer.
Yeah,
awesome.
We did an album called Sneaking Sally Through the Alley with Robert, and I toured 6 months with Robert. I think the most memorable tour was when we toured with the Rolling Stones.
Nice. Oh
we did 4 months over here, and then 6 months over in Europe.
Right.
So all those guys, Keith, and they're personal friends of mine, man. We talk all the time on the phone.
Isn't that the coolest stuff?
Yeah.
I mean,
to be where
they think it's cool to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's what's even cooler.
Which is crazy.
Because they got funk basically from New Orleans. I mean, everybody knows that, you know.
Yeah, but when we opened up, one thing I want to bring out right quick is it was a hell of a pressure, a lot of pressure opening up for a group like that.
God,
you got people maybe 3, 4, 5 blocks long sleeping on the sidewalk
to get in.
To get in first because it's open seating, And here it is. We get there like in Germany, and they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the meters." And the people said, they didn't want to see that.
They've been waiting for 5
We on the stage and saying, "Rolling Stone." And there's a lot of pressure.
That's pressure. That is pressure.
Yeah, a couple of times I had to duck some cans and stuff, but and Mick came out one couple of nights and had to tell the audience, say, "Look, let these guys play."
Yeah.
They're opening up the show for us. You're going to dig it. So once we started playing, the people accepted us, and they got
Well, this is a shirt for you, and I got another one underneath. One of them's for Pasuki as well.
Oh, thank you.
That's Task Performance.
Hey, it feels like butter.
It is like butter, dude. It is so soft. I'm gonna tell you. I say it all the time, but when I first moved back, I saw Drew Brees and Mickey Loomis and then Sean Payton always wearing them. I said, I got to get me one of those. I'm putting you on the Saints ball, man. Leo, it's been a pleasure. You got right by Archie and a bunch of others. You got some Bobby Hebert right there.
Put it right here. Let me take it.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That is Leo Nocentelli, y'all. And it's an honor just to be around him. I'm glad to call him a friend. And, we'll get you back another time. There he is. And I can even read that. That's good. Sometimes I see these and I can't read them.
Yeah, I have a bad autograph signature, man.
I see it.
Can I give you something before we leave?
Oh, you got gifts?
I'll give it to you on
what we got here?
If I can find it. Let me see.
This is live TV, almost live.
You have one?
What you got?
Oh, man.
Might as well come on the set, Pasuki. Let's come on out. Let's come on out. No, not going to happen. She's like, not going to happen. I got my mask on.
Well, all right, you're going to love this. You're going to love this.
All right, Ben, give me a handshake. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, come on. They're not going to see you. We're not on.
Yeah, we're on. We're on right now. We're on. All right.
We're still on?
Here's our next guest. Yeah, we're on. We're on live.
Yeah,
there you go.
I want the people to see what I'm giving.
There it is. Thanks.
This is the colors of Mardi Gras.
Oh, my God. Pick.
Okay.
Oh, my
Purple,
God.
gold, and green. Fleur-de-lis, my autograph on the back.
Dude, I might need two. My son tours, right? He plays guitar, has been playing since he's 11.
We got to get you another one.
And this is going to be very cool. Zach, I'm going to get you one of these. And he's a big Saints fan, even though he grew up in Atlanta. So I appreciate you. Leo, once again, love you, man. Love you. Hey, we're not done yet because tennis is a sport that I grew up playing, but I was not very good. I thought it was okay, but not really. But my next guest is one of the best to ever come out, not just the city of New Orleans, but the state of Louisiana. I can't wait. I know his parents, but that's not the reason he's on. He's on because he's one of the best tennis players in the last 50 years at least to come out of the Crescent City. Coming up next on Primetime Sports.
Sundays at 6:30 p.m.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and I feel like I've teased this 3 times, but hey, tennis is a sport I loved growing up, and like I said earlier, I was okay, but not very good. Not compared to my next guest. I know his mother and his father separately, and they're both great people, and now I've been hearing about this guy probably for the last 15 years, since he was young. This guy's had a tennis racket in his hand, and now he ended up going away for high school. That's what they do if you really become great in tennis, and he went to Dallas and a couple other places. And then he ended up going to the University of Oklahoma for his first 2 years to play. But just a couple weeks ago, maybe even the last week, he transferred to LSU. So big things are happening. Now, when Welsh Hotard graduated from high school, he was one of the top 5 players in the country, #1 in the entire Gulf State region. And LSU's getting a great player, and I can't wait to dig more into this. Welsh, welcome to the show, bro.
Yes, sir. I'm excited.
Have you ever heard about this show before?
I haven't until my dad was talking to me about it. I watched a little bit of it, I'm very excited.
Well, man, let me say this. It's unbelievable to be in the top 5 of any sport with Jeff, but growing up, when did you realize, when did you pick this racket up and say, A, I like playing, and B, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
I was around 4 or 5. I started playing tennis, and then I was playing baseball. I was playing all the sports still, and then when I was around 13, decided to stop playing baseball and just focus on tennis.
So 13's when you knew?
13's when I knew. Tennis is what I wanted to do. Yes, sir.
I know your family, big Jesuit family, you know, your uncle, your dad.
Yeah.
Probably more relatives. I know your cousin, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Foster Moreau, who plays for the Raiders.
Yes, sir.
You went to Jesuit, but what happened then?
When I was in 8th grade, I went to Jesuit, and then tennis isn't really big in New Orleans, I would say, so I decided to move. I went to John Newcomb Tennis Ranch for 2 years.
Legendary player from the 70s.
Yeah, I went there for 2 years in New Braunfels, Texas.
Yeah.
But I was kind of back and forth from there with my coach here because she's awesome, so decided to come back a little bit some, and then I decided to move to Dallas. I moved to Dallas, stayed with a family for a year when I was 16 to 17, and then my mom moved up to Dallas with me, and so then I just stayed there my last 2 years of high school.
Yeah, so when you decided to go to college, I know, like, I hear these stories all the time because back in the day, I know these academies were starting to get bigger in the 80s, and then the 90s, they were really blossoming.
Sure.
You hear stories like Jennifer Capriati, who was this legend. She got in the pro circuit at 14, and then, you know, she burned out.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had any fear of that happening?
A little bit, because tennis is an up and down sport. I mean, when you're not doing well, a lot of pressure because it's all on yourself. When you're not doing well, you're a little down, but when you're doing better, you're feeling great.
Big smile on that one. Wish we had that on camera.
Yeah, so a little bit, but I knew I just had to get through it. And Lakes, where I went to the academy in Dallas, and it was a great place to be, and friends there and family. It was awesome.
Why'd you pick Oklahoma?
I loved the guys on the team. I loved all the facilities. OU campus is unbelievable.
I've been at least 50 times. I do games, and I work with Spencer Tillman, who's an Oklahoma legend. So we get a lot of OU Sooner games, and it's one of the best campuses around.
It's awesome, very clean, everything's great. But my coach in Dallas actually went to OU.
Oh, nice.
He was there for four years, and they were one in the country for a bunch of those years. So he kind of wanted me to go there, and I loved everything about OU, so I decided to go there instead of LSU.
Well, you're a doubles champion last season. I mean,
we got to around 35 in the country last year.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's unbelievable. So when you got to, obviously, spoiler alert, you're wearing an LSU shirt.
Yeah.
So obviously, when did this happen, and what was the thought process about coming home to LSU?
Honestly, it happened probably 2-3 weeks ago. I was in Atlanta, and
that recent. Okay.
That recent. I decided I kind of wanted to leave OU because the opportunity I had at LSU with Danny and the guys on the team and everyone there, got to be closer to home. it was exciting for me. Like I wanted to do that, come back home, play with my family.
Look at you there. That's with Foster, correct? I
Yeah.
mean, who's now, like I said, he was a tight end at LSU a few years ago, and now he's getting a lot of time with the Raiders. And there's your dad, John Hotard. I know he's been a big supporter of yours. Take me back. I want to see some pictures when you were a little kid, man, because I love seeing these little ones like these. And you still hold that lefty racket kind of the same way. I see that serve. You kind of going sideways. Take me through. Look at how cute that one is. Take me through this process of you starting this and then becoming where you are now.
It's tough. It was long days, like training. When I was at the academies, we were training 4 hours a day, and then plus weights every day or conditioning.
Yeah.
So when I was here, I was probably playing an hour and a half a day when I was in New Orleans. And if you want to kind of get
As
to
a kid, you mean?
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I was probably playing an hour.
Right.
Maybe a little more, and then growing up through tennis and until I left, I was probably playing around that much,
Right.
about an hour and a half.
I'm looking at your serve. I mean, listen, I could never serve like you. Never. Nobody, hardly anybody can. But you had the same form when you're little. Then I'm seeing you growing up in junior high age, and that's probably more high schoolish.
Yes, sir.
And then now, but you do the spin over with your. I'm doing it from on camera with the thing. Like, tell me about that, because that's a little unusual to me, and I love how you get some air on those serves.
It's like just kind of pronation. It kind of brings the ball down.
Yeah.
And obviously it makes you go faster. My coach.
But you learned it at an early age, though.
I did, yes,
right.
sir. My coach in Mandeville, Walker Sahag, she's awesome. She's very technical with everything that we do. So she's had me do that since a very young age. Same thing, puts a lot of spin on the ball and then makes it go faster, go through the court more. So it's a big part of my game.
Let's talk about next year at LSU. Obviously, when I was at school, I lived near the tennis court, so I used to watch them. There were a ton of foreign guys, and they started really become one of the better programs in the country.
Yeah.
What is their reputation now, and what do you expect to do there?
I mean, right now, since a new coach came in, we're rebuilding a little bit, but I expect us fully to do very well this year. There's 5 of us coming in, transfers, 4 actually foreign, and then there's me. But my best friend's on the team. He went to LSU right off the bat. Ben Koch, he's from Lafayette.
Yeah. We've got a picture of him.
Yeah, he's from Lafayette, Abbeville.
Right.
And then they kept Ronald Homan. He's from Florida. He was an All-American this year, a very good player. And then Nick Watson, he's from Baton Rouge, actually. So, and then one more guy from Argentina. His
That's
last
all
name's
good. You'll find out. You'll figure who he is out soon enough.
But I expect us to do really well. Danny brought in a bunch of good guys, and I think it's going to be really fun.
So last week I had LSU's baseball coach on, and he signed in purple. I'm going to get you to sign right here. I'm going to get, you'll be the only one with the blue. How about that? You'll be the only one with the blue. Welsh, we do a tradition here. This is one of my favorite colors, too, but Task Performance, New Orleans company.
Perfect.
Beautiful
Thank you.
Soft shirts.
Wow.
That's a large, but if you need a medium, let me know. Because
Yes,
I brought a couple sizes for you.
Perfect.
Here,
Thank
if you
you
sign
so
the ball,
much.
I do
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. And as you're doing, tell me about the influence your parents had on your life and in tennis. You can find it anywhere. You can go down below.
Very big. My mom and my dad supported me a lot.
Charmaine and John.
Yeah, they've done a lot for me. And tennis, they've got to sacrifice a lot for me to get where I am. And they've had big influences. My mom,
it's hard to be especially in that individual sport, because you need that support, right? I mean, we saw Kyrgios just yelling at his family.
I know.
Like he's going crazy.
Yeah.
And when maybe in a year or so it gets you back, because I want to talk more about the game itself and,
Yes,
and the guys you follow. Because I should have got more of that. But McEnroe was my all-time favorite, a lefty.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you
and
so
who's
much.
your favorite growing up?
Federer. Definitely.
What
Definitely
a legend.
Federer.
What a legend, huh?
Yes, sir.
I know he just got passed on the list of majors by obviously Novak Djokovic,
Yes, sir.
and Djokovic has one more to go to get to Nadal. But
Yes, sir.
maybe you'll be on that list one day.
Hopefully.
All right, there he
Yes,
is.
sir.
Welsh Hotard. I got to thank him, man. This has been a fun show, a little bit different than normal. We had the voice of the Saints, Mike Haas. We actually had guitar legend Leo Nocentelli, and then we have future tennis superstar, Welsh Hotard. He's a star right now, too. LSU, get out and support your tennis team next year. They're fun to watch, man. Get out there. Hey, next week we're going to have another great show. Saints training camp starts, so I'll be bringing some of the players in right before they start. We're going to have all that coming up next on Primetime Sports. See you next week.